Hi, I'm Jonathan,
And I'm Jennifer.
and you're watching A Well-Traveled Life.
Where we will do cool projects around the house.
Travel the world.
Here's to the journey. One of the reasons we've chosen to college graduate with a business degree, but is also a culinary artist and is in the process of opening his first restaurant in the heart of downtown Warsaw. He is looking to make his restaurant for cocktails literally a Michelin star experience. So I can't wait for you to hear about that, meet this amazing young man, and find out about his family and how they have managed the refugee situation with Ukrainians in Poland.
This property is well known in Poland. In Warsaw, there is this idea of renovating something old and making it like the most popular fancy place. So for example, this place used to be a power plant, keeping the old spirit, keeping the elements, and well, I'm sure that's not something that Poland invented. We copy everything from the West. Before, we still got some renovations to do. It's not like anything particularly difficult, meaning that most of the work is like paint this wall. The only like big project is that we changing the lights in the whole restaurant. We need like everything, and the lights are very important. Best friend that I've had 18 years or something, his parents own a few restaurants. They met a guy who's been working for movies production, and he was the guy who did the lighting. And he's in this business. He's going to bring tons of lights. It's a big project, meaning that there has to be a lot of decisions made right. Buying chairs, it's just like one decision, So I think the renovations are not going to be a problem. I don't think that the menu is going to be a problem, to actually get ready and prepare all those dishes.
You have a building to now go do something in and start hiring people if you want them.
Well, we believe that our concept is innovative and original enough that it would drive a lot of people with just passionate. In most of the restaurants, you don't have really people who have passion. They just work because that's what they have to do. So that's what we're hoping. But in the end, it's really difficult to predict, especially that, for like head chefs or people like that, like very particular personas, we can look really in advance. But to find waiters, people like this, we cannot really be looking in advance, like 2 months in advance, because they only care if they can get paid, 1 week from when we talk to them about that. Basically, if we hire, we have to pay. So we'll see. I'm not certain at this point, but it's going in the right direction, most certainly. The one person that I'm desperately looking right now and that we're missing in our team is a head chef, because I'm definitely not going to be the person who's going to be leading the whole kitchen throughout the 12 hours of operation of the restaurant, even though I create the concepts and the general idea of what's being served.
I would think that would be the hardest position for you because you know enough about it, you care passionately about it, and so it's got to be not just the right personality, but the right skills and the right focus and the right area of specialization, and I would think that would be hard.
That's definitely true. But on the other hand, so far we've been pretty lucky because, for example, like the way I look at the cocktails that we make, it's much closer to actually a dish rather than just so this bartender, he won the Polish edition, and so he went for the international one. He's really good, and he's been working with us on this project. What I need is an equivalent of him
in the kitchen. So where are you headhunting for that?
So I was about 2 years ago after Los Angeles working for a supplier for restaurants. It's Metro Group. It's a German company, and it's really famous in Europe. I think it's the biggest in Europe. And I was working for them, and so they have like a culinary academia where it looks exactly like a kitchen from MasterChef or Top Chef. That there is like one stand for the teacher, and then there are tons of stations for the others. It serves a few purposes. Firstly, they train chefs, and the idea is that if you train chefs, the restaurant business is going better, so they buy more products. So I met a guy who's been working for this academia. So it was very early stages, and I remember talking with him about it, and we haven't spoke for 2 years. And I just called him.
You also went to Ukraine to a restaurant. Share with us that restaurant in Ukraine.
It was in Lviv, and Lviv is, firstly, it's such a beautiful city. And it's very special to Polish people because throughout a big time in history, it used to be a Polish town. And I remember, by the way, the first time when I went to Ukraine, I was 100% certain that I'm going to speak English there. But apparently there are so many people speaking Polish and our languages are similar enough that you just speak Polish everywhere. But there are a few amazing concepts in Ukraine. The best restaurant that we've been in Lviv was called Baczewscy, and it's a last name of actually a Polish family that used to make alcoholic spirits. I'm not sure, 300, 400 years ago. They were actually popular because they were the first people who implemented some sort of marketing into their products. 400 years ago, when marketing was obviously non-existing because the value was having something,
Sure.
There was no need to promote it. And they did it by printing colorful labels on their alcoholic beverages, which was very innovative at the time, and that is one of the main reasons why they became successful. So now there is a restaurant.
Okay.
So we went to this restaurant. I have been there before, so I knew that it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And so we go in, we sit at the table. There is two of us. So the waiter sits us at the table for two people. Logical. Then we order, and he moves us to the table for four people, because it was not like, we want this, we want this. It was more like we want everything. But the restaurant, it was beautiful. There was live music. It looked a little bit like a winter garden because it had huge glasses. There were birds, parrots flying around. It was just an amazing atmosphere of this luxury combined with this Ukrainian traditional spirit, the highest quality of service, meaning that you could really feel that people working there do care. And the menu was spectacular. It was so long. And usually, in my opinion, that's not really the best indicate, because it's better to focus on something in particular. Everything was really perfect. We went there. It was so good. We were in Ukraine for 3 days, and we went to this restaurant twice. We went there once for breakfast. The breakfast was the most spectacular part because you go there. There is a buffet. You order from chef particular like warm dishes such as omelette or anything else. Mm-hmm. You get coffee. You get either traditionally of Ukraine, Poland, a shot of vodka or a glass of champagne, and you pay $7. This is the price for the most elegant restaurant in Ukraine for the breakfast. For dinner, when they put us at the larger table and we were ordering so many things, including foie gras, we order horseradish vodka, which is something that goes particularly well with salo, which on the other hand is this traditional Ukrainian lard, which is cured and then sometimes not always smoked. And they bring it in a block. They cut it very thinly into strips. And it's probably the most delicious thing that you can have in Ukraine. Fortunately, that's in Lviv, so far the least affected city by the war. The situation is very dynamic. For example, that there are in the past 2 weeks or 17 days exactly, since the beginning of the conflict, there are already 600,000 Ukrainians who are in Poland right now. There are more Ukrainians in Poland than in any other country in Europe. So there is a lot, but mainly it's of course women and children. Ukrainians have been going to Poland for many years, just like Polish people go to Great Britain. But in the past years, the process just got much easier. So it was easy for the Ukrainians to get to Poland legally. So there are already a lot of Ukrainians in Poland. A lot of them actually did go back to Ukraine, especially men, to help the conflicts.
I know your mom has been doing a lot of work with some refugees that she somehow got connected with, and they were trying to get across the border. Did they make it across the border?
I did see them for the first time yesterday, even though they've been here for the past 2 days, because I was traveling to Warsaw most every day. There two women and a girl. She's 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think they're having a good time here. I say it because it's not for every refugee of war to be as welcome as Ukrainians are generally in Europe. And I don't say it to brag about what good of a job we do, because that's not the point at all. But I think it's remarkable to point out the effort of the European Union, of America, of NATO countries, because things like that we have not seen over the past decades.
I agree. Other invaded countries have not had the level of support that Ukraine has. But I also have to say, Ukraine has earned that international respect that they have gotten. The Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian leaders have shown us so much in the form of bravery and a refusal to bow down to oppression.
Absolutely. But I think an important aspect to point out as well is, I believe in most of the countries of conflict, the conflict starts internally, meaning there are two parties. And even though from the Western perspective, it's quite clear for us which party is the good one, and we are often quick to say that these are the good ones, these are the evil ones, but usually the whole context is a little bit more complicated.
You can see regions of Ukraine where there was some separatist movement, Donbas region, but this was clearly an invasion of a country as opposed to a civil war where somebody came in to keep the peace.
Right, the Donbas area, it's like Crimea, and what happened in 2014, as much as it was not justified in any way, it was not even comparably as of a bad situation in comparison to what is happening now. It's important for us to really put ourselves into the shoes of Russians and of Putin. And as much as they had no right to do what they did, at least they could say that if there was a voting in Crimea, then the majority would vote for joining Russia. And that's because there are more Russians in Crimea, just like in the very eastern part of Ukraine. But it is the two tiny or small, relatively small regions. And the conflict inside of it is something that has been going on for the past 8 years. It did not surprise Ukrainians. But to attack a country that is 100% independent, where the government is democratic, it's legitimate, and just attack them and put a puppet, I don't think there has been a single case as such in the past decades in the entire world. And for sure, it is the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II.
Well, we can talk more about that because I really do want your thoughts on that. But I am really glad to know that there's 3 more safe people. I can't imagine them landing at a better place than in your home. The rest of us, thank you guys for doing that. Please tell your mom. It just makes me love your family even more. And please tell your guests that there are people all over the world thinking about them, and so glad that they have found a safe place to land for at least a while until something happens that gives them another safe place to go.
Speaking with Ukrainians, I do feel like on one hand they are relieved to be in a safe place, but on the other hand, that's not something that they want. Recently talked with a woman from Ukraine about it. What is actually the difference between refugees from countries like Syria and refugees from Ukraine? And the refugees from Ukraine don't want to be refugees. That's the main difference. Even before the war, there were so many Ukrainians working in Poland, and there are so many people who are going back voluntarily to Ukraine to fight for their own country.
What part of Ukraine are they from?
They were from Kharkiv, so one of the most affected parts of Ukraine, cities in Ukraine.
I told you, he's amazing. If you are interested in finding out more about Krzys, go ahead and comment below and we'll try and answer questions or keep you connected. Look for us to be able to meet up with Krzys on future travels. You'll see him again, I promise.